Good, how you doing?
You might want to mention, instead of two G's, it should be EFGHI.
Yes.
How that occurred. Don't worry about it.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. We have in addition to the agenda, under new business, I will be ratification of negotiated agreement. And those are the only additions, maybe next month, Curtis. So I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Curtis,
Second it.
Jill, moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Jill and Curtis. Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, recognitions.
I don't find my notes. This is, this time of year is always bittersweet in the fact that we have people who are, moving on to other opportunities. And so it's our time of the year to say goodbye to two of our educational leaders, and Jason and Dina. Both individuals have made a massive difference for the educational opportunities, offered to our students. Truly, the team back there is the best team with which I've worked in my 14 years as being a superintendent. Played pivotal roles in both the academic and emotional growth of our students. So it's, like I said, it's bittersweet. They're moving on, but I'm excited for them because of the opportunities, and they will truly be missed. Now, Dina is a little bit different because she is choosing to retire. So, Dina, we do have a commemorative plaque for you, and maybe as we're moving into executive session, we'll get a picture with you and Mr. Jones, our president. So it really is bittersweet and heartfelt. Jason, Dina, gonna miss you. That's it.
All right. Okay, we'll move to financials. Mike?
So on the warrants, it's page 3. I'll just point out that we got some money from the state flow through to High Plains, $135,213. And then a little bit below that, we got some money from the county that went to the Holcomb Rec, $198,109.45. Nothing really else to point out. So on page 9, the total warrants for this month, $571,576.91. And then on page 12, our cash balances, we're still getting a little bit of money from the state for their portion of our funding. We did get all of the money from the county, though. So our balances are up a little bit right now. Then when you look on page 14 and where we expect to be on our balances so that we can finish out the year. And then on page 15 is the transfers, and then behind that's the high school and middle school reports. So if you have any questions.
If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the financials at $571,576.91.
So moved. Second.
Ryan Schravogel and Curtis. Moved and seconded to approve the financials. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, no public patron concerns, so we move to reports and Dr. Meyer.
So a couple things to talk about. We re-envisioned and operated summer school differently this year. The idea of catching up on learning loss that took place because of the last 13 months or 18 months of the way things have been going. We had about 100 kids show up. At the high school level, 12 kids were able to pick up some classes. They recovered some classes. The middle school had 5 and did one of them remote, which is neat. Picked up about 8 classes. We showed growth in academic areas in the elementary schools, and so that's the purpose of the program, it's specifically tied to the learning loss. If you recall, this was tied to the ESSER II monies, which allowed us to resurrect it and start it back in a different way. In the rest of my time here, we've done the Jump Start in August, but this was a re-envisioning of the old and bringing back good old-fashioned summer school. Moving forward, this summer, I know I've written to you about it, but Julie is conducting Tech Tuesdays, mid-July into August itself, 3 different full-day professional learning opportunities that she'll be conducting, and she's crowdsourcing it, which is, I think it's cool. She sent out a message, a survey to the staff and said, well, what do you want to see? What would you like to learn about? And then also see which people want to step forward and say, well, I'll do a presentation on X, Y, Z. And so it'll be 3 different days, half-day type scenario. So plenty of opportunity for the staff members to grow in their utilization of technology. If you'll recall, this is back when we started the position with Julie as a technology integration specialist. This was part of the vision. So we provide not just the tools, but then also the professional learning and support behind them to help people. So I'm excited about what she's got going on there. ESSER II monies, we finally received the application was approved, and then today we got 3 different emails from the state saying, congratulations, you're approved. Why one was not good enough, I don't know, but we got 3. That's the efficiency of state government, I guess. So we have, we said Mike has to figure out the way to draw it down, and that's what paid for summer school, our secondary remote teacher, the student advocate at the middle school, the HILs, and the 3 additional paras we're going to bring in at the elementary school. And so that's good to get that done. And so ESSER II, we still have, not half of it, but I'll say at least 1/3 of it for the following year. We'll utilize that in some way, some manner. And it'll be coupled together with ESSER III money. ESSER III, we're waiting for the application. It hasn't been authored, I guess. It hasn't been published yet. And we're in line to get like $1.2 million from the ESSER III, and we'll have 3 years to spend it. I've not seen any parameters on use, but I'm sure it'll be the same parameters as ESSER II, maybe with additional things. I'm sure they'll have the tribunal as well that we've got to go through. No reason to rush around on it, so as we get that information, I'll let you know. Final thing is a real celebration, at least it's in the dock, we believe. We received notification that the FEMA money has landed. Now, it's not in our account yet. Mike says it'll be tomorrow morning. And then of course, I'll be gone on vacation, so I won't be here to celebrate with you. But at long last, $84,000 of good hard work from Mike and Norma. We're going to be able to recoup the expenditures that we put into play to offset some of the COVID stuff. So that goes right directly back into the general fund at LOB. And that was a lot of work, arduous journey. So, and it's only been on the queue since, September. Is when we finally finished the work. And that's the pace at which the federal government moves with FEMA type funds. Last thing to let you know is I'll be going on vacation tomorrow, headed to New Jersey. Then I'll be back in-house on the 29th. The 28th, I'll be in Salina attending the budget workshop. I'm assuming there's some big things they're going to tell us this year because, if nothing else, the whole tax neutral revenue rule that comes into play. Mike will be going to Garden City on Wednesday to hear what he hears. Then I'll be in Salina to hear what I hear. So that's my report.
All right. Okay, buildings? Grounds?
Lance said he'd be about 15 minutes late, but he has nothing further.
Okay. Transportation?
I have nothing further.
Food service? Mr. Ackerman?
Nothing further.
All right. Okay, we'll move to principals, and in her final report, Dina Novak.
Nothing further.
She told me she's going to do that.
Oh, look at you.
Atta girl.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Randy?
I will just add a little bit about summer school. I did put that in my report that we had 3 weeks of summer school. Did a couple of field trips, took them over to the post office over here. They also went and saw a presentation from Johnetta Heberly at the zoo, and I guess that was really good as well. And then did a little hiking around, I can't think what it's called, but it's the one by the Marketplace Walmart. There's that little trail. So they did a scavenger hunt. So some fun stuff, along with a lot of learning. And we looked at 4 areas. We looked at reading fluency. We looked at phonics skills. We looked at math, and we looked at writing. And while there wasn't necessarily growth in every single area by every single kid, we did see growth by almost all kids that we were able to test the last week. So that was encouraging, and I think they had a great time, which is important too, because sometimes summer school can get a bad rap. So we wanted to make sure that they had fun. We haven't had summer school in quite a while, other than through our migrant program. So it was really exciting, and it was really nice for me to have some company in the building. In the summer, I wasn't quite so lonely. So that's all I've got.
Thanks. Tyler?
One addition to my report is related to open house towards the beginning of in August. We'll have a traditional open house the first week right before school for families to come in, kids to check out lockers, because they'll have lockers this year, so they'll have to learn the combinations. But we're going to do something new the following week. Once we've had a week under our belt, we're going to offer a second open house. We're calling it Parent University, which is an idea out of the Chicago School District. But we'll offer a free meal for families to come in to start the night, and then we'll have some breakout rooms where they can learn things about things going on at the school. I've been in contact with the Holcomb Police Department. They're going to do a couple sessions on vaping devices, what they look like, how they work, what parents can look for. So just a smattering of offerings that parents can participate in and bring the kids. And so excited about that. Teachers are, they have the green light to kind of brainstorm what they want to do, and looking forward to seeing how that goes in August. It'll be nice to have open houses again. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Jason?
Nothing to add.
Thank you, Jason. All right, you've got the rec minutes, the service center, High Plains.
Nothing really to add to that, just business.
They're not needing more money from us or anything?
Not yet, but they are getting ready to negotiate, and that will lead directly to that, so.
Yes. All right. Okay, let's move to unfinished business. Property and casualty insurance.
All righty, we have
Our
Sean
favorite
Myers,
subject.
and I'm sorry, I know your last name starts with an S, but there you go. Here to represent Keller Leopold and talk with us about our casualty property and our work comp insurances. This shows up on the agenda as 2 separate things, but we're really, and it'll need to be 2 separate motions, okay? But in my mind's eye, we need to look at it as a whole. So Sean, as you're making your presentation, if you want to bleed into the workers' comp, because the fiscal side of this really reflects both the work of both of those piles. So,
Yeah, and I want to apologize for anybody that's sitting near me. I came straight here from the ball field, so my shoes are dirty, as I had coaching duty tonight. So, and I did bring Trent along with us. Many of you probably know Trent. He used to be a teacher here. He's one of our newest additions at Keller Leopold. So, thought I'd bring him along for a little experience. So. The reason why I'm here now, typically I'm coming in before you in June to talk about the 7/1 renewal for workman's compensation. And we're going to do that too, but if you remember back in October, Ryan asked a question about moving the property and casualty insurance to 7/1 to align better with the budgetary process. And so we kind of watched things as we were going through the end of the year last year and then through the first of this year, and made the decision to go ahead and quote and see what the pricing would look like to renew for 7/1. And as you know, last year we had an increase with EMC. EMC has been in the school program for 30 plus years. And for 29 of those 30 plus years, it's been unprofitable. And so to remain a viable option for guaranteed cost insurance, EMC decided that they were going to take the rate they needed to make it profitable. So in 2020, they did have their first profitable year in over 25 years with the school program. The hope is that that continues this year. and that we are able to put together what would be a dividend moving forward, because this is a dividend program. Unfortunately, it has not been profitable enough to return a dividend back to the insureds. So the hope is if we can have another successful year, like we did in 2020, we're able to give you guys a return back on the premium. Just to give you an idea, the city program, the municipality program, what they call the KMUs, is a dividend program as well. And for 30 years, it has provided a dividend back to the cities that participate. In fact, just earlier, a couple of months ago, I delivered the check to the city of Holcomb at about 18.5% of the return of premium. Okay. Now, the difference between a city and a school district is property. Obviously, schools are much more property heavy. And as you know, we have two schools that sit right next to each other, right here. And we've got another two schools that sit right next to each other. So the spread of risk is not the same as it is in other communities. And so typically if we have a weather event, it's going to affect all the schools. And so that provides a unique opportunity for the way EMC has to charge for the premium. Okay. With that said, okay, I knew that EMC would be taking rate again, and so I went to the work comp carrier. So let's address the work comp first. We've had you with RAS insurance for the work comp for many years, and we will continue to have you with RAS. The only difference is they've introduced a new writing carrier. So they have these different companies within a company. The LCM, which I'm not going to get into the weeds on this, but the LCM is lower than that of the previous writing company. So what I decided to do was to quote and look at what the pricing would be for Holcomb's work comp in that carrier and what the price difference would be. This is the first year that that program or that writing carrier is available, and it is a dividend program. So this is a dividend option program. The premium is $15,000 less than what the expiring was. So expiring premium was right around $45,000. This year's renewal premium is right around $30,000, and you have those numbers. So with that said, I felt very comfortable going to EMC, moving forward with a quote, as it is expiring, with what we have in place now. And so you'll see that we have the renewal there in front of you. The premium breakdown, excluding the work comp, puts you right at $166. Okay, and that's an increase from last year, but it's offset a little bit from the work comp. So the total increase is about $8,000 from last year. All right, most of that is due to the property, and the other part of that is due to linebacker costs. A lot of EEOC claims, EPLI claims, that's putting pressure on the reinsurance market. Property values have needed to go up this year because of the increased cost of construction. All of the cost estimators that we use to figure replacement cost have all incorporated 25 to 33% increase in construction cost. So just by virtue of what it costs to buy a 2x4 and a 8-foot sheet of OSB, right? Well, we've had to increase values across the board with all of our insureds. Okay, and as a result, that premium goes up. So what you have before you is the total renewal for the insurance for everything to begin on 7/1 with a total price tag of $196,241. There have been no material changes in terms of what's on the policy or deductible changes or anything. I mean, everything as it is right now is for 7/1. I was hoping, to be honest with you, I was hoping for a flat sort of, we're going to be up 15 with EMC, down 15, and it was just going to be kind of a flat deal. It took a little rate. I negotiated it down a little farther. So we'll see, hopefully, this next year, maybe a dividend. So
Sean, to make sure it's two different motions here.
Sure.
The property and casualty insurance is at the rate of $166,536.
Correct.
Okay, and then the motion for the workers' comp would be for $30,397.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's what I recommend to the board is to our property and casualty insurance, then also our workman's comp as two separate motions.
3397?
$30,397.
What happens to the premium we've already paid that goes through November?
So they're going to apply a portion of that, Mike, and then it'll be a billing, kind of an in and out.
Okay.
Yeah. And whatever we need to do to take care of it on your end, we will.
Yeah.
And we typically pay the premium up front to EMC and then bill. So we will do the same in this particular case as well.
Okay.
So Sean, as replacement values go back down, as premiums gonna go back down?
Well, we're going to remember that, and we're going to be asking those questions of our carriers, because the hope is that those costs will come down, and then we'll see kind of a flattening. But you kind of know how this thing goes. Sometimes they just get there and stay there. So,
Kind of like taxes.
yeah.
All right. I'll entertain a motion on the property and casualty at 166,536.
So moved.
Sean and Curtis. Moved and seconded to approve our property and casualty insurance through Keller Leopold for $166,536. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then I need a motion to approve the workman's comp at $30,397.
Second it.
Curtis and Jill. Moved and seconded to approve the workman's comp at $30,397 through Keller Leopold. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
I will add just a couple of things. One, I want to, and we'll probably, is Randy still here, or did he leave?
You left.
Okay. Multi-factor authentication on email continues to be a problematic source for cyber attacks. So I will get with Randy and talk a little bit about that related to cyber insurance. It's we're seeing a rise in claims, and so it's something that carriers are going to start requiring is that multi-factor authentication, at least on a basic level, for email. So I'll get with him and in contact with that. On a personal note, I just want to say thank you to the board for what you guys did and your efforts through this last year to keep school in session. As a parent of 4 kids that go to school here, it was definitely an effort to these folks over here as well to keep things running and going smoothly. And your guys' leadership, along with Dr. Myers, was very steadfast, and we appreciate that as parents. I know I'm probably not speaking for just myself, but for all the parents here. So thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. All right, let's move to competency-based grading.
All right, one of the exciting initiatives taking place, in fact, down the road could be the way of the world, well, should be the way of the world education, is not just a matter of gathering of points, but, based the experience, the matriculation through the educational time should be on what we know, what we can prove we can do. This is a fundamental shift from the days of, I'll bring in Kleenex and get 10 extra points, and that's how people end up with 110% in a given class. So through Jason's leadership and Jerry's leadership, we've been experimenting or doing a pilot program with competency-based. Jerry will be talking to you in depth of what's been going on and where we're headed with this. This is not a motion item. This is just to make sure you know where we're headed and what's taking place. So, Jerry.
Okay. Let's see.
A form of competency-based is whether you can get this to work or not. Look at that. He's fast.
And that's the presentation. So we can, competency-based, standards-based education. I kind of talk real loud, so sorry. Better back up here a little bit. So personalization committee, we got tasked with the job of 2 years ago to kind of dive into standards-based grading. That's kind of the wave of the future of what you're starting to see in education a little bit. And what standards-based grading purely is a communication platform in order to better communicate learning to parents and to stakeholders. It's authentic communication of where the level of learning that the students are currently at. So there's a lot of factors to go into that. The best thing that we've been able to do is we spent 2 years on this researching. The very first year, we spent a year basically figuring out everything that it wasn't. We kind of had an idea of what standards-based grading was. We talked to some schools in Kansas. It was part of the redesign program in the state, and so we talked to some of their gurus, and we kept coming back to this is it's not what we're looking for. This isn't good. So I think we did a really good job of taking time and figuring out exactly what it wasn't, so that when we found somebody that really knows what it was, we got some really good information from it. So the purpose of being here today to the board is we were tasked by Dr. Myers to kind of put this into place. And so we're kind of letting you know what it looks like, and so that you can have answer any questions we have for you. The personalization committee, 3 members are here today, and they actually have tried this in their classrooms. They piloted it for a semester. How we kind of went about is we got hooked up with a guy named Matt Townsley, who is a doctor out of northern Iowa. He's kind of the guru on standards-based grading and what it is and putting it into place. He was actually a math teacher that started off in Iowa, moved into an administrative role, instituted and helped bring the standards-based grading to his school in Iowa, taught it there for a while, was an administrator there for a while, and then moved on, and now he's a master's in education where he teaches this to other schools, and people go to him. We zoomed in with him once a month for this entire year, and had answered any questions. He was very open about answering the questions that we had. I mean, we were freaking out. We were trying this. We were frustrated. And he said they went through all the same things. But when it came down to it is they were able to clearly identify where the students were at in their level of learning the way that it should be. And we're able to clearly communicate that to them. So if you kind of take a look at what we believe the standards-based grading is, we created a Google Doc here so that whenever we have new teachers come in, this is kind of what the whole reason behind it is. All right, so standards-based grading to us is students will have multiple opportunities to demonstrate learning. A relearning plan must be followed in order for reassessments to take place. Homework will serve as an ungraded guided practice with feedback from teachers. Students will have multiple ways to demonstrate understanding on each standard. Grades should clearly communicate the student's level of learning, and extra credit will not be given at any time. And a lot of these are kind of eye-opening things that have been done in the past. And the reason that you do it this way, because anytime that you bring in an external factor into it, you're not actually clearly assessing where the student's at on their level of learning. And that's scary for some people. Hard work for me is what defines people. I believe in hard work. I teach my sons and my daughter. Hard work is very important. But if I want to really truly see where their level of learning is, you have to remove the hard work piece from it to be able to clearly identify on the assessment where they're at. Now, does that mean hard work is taken out of it? It's not. But what it is the hard work in order to come into it, in order to learn it, and then you assess them where they're at. So when they turn work in, just by turning assignments in and stuff like that, they should be given points for it according to standards-based grading, because it's not about turning the work in, it's about assessing their level of knowledge on it. Does that mean that turning work assignments in, taking the accountability factor out of taking assignments in and teach them responsibility, we want to take that away? We don't. But we just want to be able to hold them accountable in a different way than giving them a 0 for not turning their work in. Because we're not truly assessing where they're at on that.
Can I cut in on that?
Yes?
I think it's more of a,
I'm sorry, they won't be able to hear you on the report.
that's okay. I'm kind of loud too. I think it's more of a synergistic relationship with the authentic learning and the hard work. I don't think that the hard work, I don't want you to think that the hard work is not assessed, because if you look up there, it says that the students have the opportunities to reassess if they're not satisfied with the grade that they got. So therefore, they're going to have to go back and follow a learning plan where they may have to go back and redo homework, not redo. They will have to do the homework assignments that they possibly didn't turn in before they were assessed, or if the teacher decides that you can't take an assessment, a summative assessment like a comprehensive test, until you've completed X, Y, and Z assignments, then they have to do that. So the hard work side of things isn't eliminated, rather it's working in conjunction with showing and proving what the kids actually are learning in that unit.
Said it better than I could have. So, tough thing about it is when we're giving you a snapshot in here in about 5-10 minutes of what, standards-based grading is, this has been a 2-year experience for us to be able to really get in and really to see. We brought the personalization committee in here, 3 members of it, because they have used it for an entire semester. So we wanted to be able to show what are the benefits that they saw out of it, maybe some of the challenges that we have to work through as we go. The hope is we're going to have 7 more teachers that have volunteered to pilot 1 class at the high school next year. And then the next semester, if things go well, then every teacher would be asked to pilot 1 class of using standards-based grading in just 1 section of a class for the second semester next year. And then we'd reevaluate to see where we are and then see where we want to push forward, how many more to move on from that. So from your guys' perspectives, what were some of the benefits that you saw? And the nice thing about it that we have here is Mrs. Artery did it out what did you do in chemistry or did you do physical science? Mr. Hughes did it in band, so you see a different type. It's not just in a core elective. And then Mrs. Bowler did it in was it world history class? So.
Yeah, and my daughter is in band, and she had a C for a long time and wasn't happy with Mr. Used, but she had to go in and retest, and she was always like, Mom, can I go in? Can I go in? I need to get my grade up in there. And so therefore she was practicing more, and she was performing more, and then she eventually got her grade up, but that's that hard work piece in there, the discipline, the accountability, the responsibility to set up the time to take the test with him. So there was it all worked hand in hand, and it was a really good, it was good for her, I think. And if I'm being completely honest, I have been flip-flopping back and forth on this. I did in the early stages of it because there wasn't a lot of direction. We felt kind of lost, but I think we kind of have our footing now. One thing, I was talking with my mom who was in education for a number of years, and we got into talking about going to college for free, and I won't get on that soapbox. But I said, if you don't have any skin in the game, then how is it going to be important to you? And I think that with standards-based grading, if the kids don't have any buy-in into what they're learning, they're just going to jump through the hoops. And I think that's what they've been doing. We say, here's the hoop, you jump through it, you get a grade. If you don't get that good grade that you're wanting, then turn in a box of Kleenex, and now you have extra credit points and you can get that grade. But did you really learn 90% of what we went over in class, or did you just turn in the Kleenex? So it holds them to a higher standard because we have higher expectations of them, and we can know with confidence that they're going to go on to whatever the future holds for them with more knowledge, as well as all of the intangibles that we want them to have as well. The other thing is, these are a necessary evil. I can't stand them in the classroom because kids have information at their fingertips and they cheat. That's only allowed on the basketball court, but they will try to cheat using their phones or any other kind of internet resource. And I think by using standards-based grading, that is limited because it is authentic learning. So they have to show us what they know, not what TikTok demonstrated for them. So I think it's good in that way as well. But that's where I'm at.
But Andrew, so you're
Yes.
saying they're cheating more on their homework that's
Yeah.
graded?
Yeah, they definitely cheat on their homework. And
Not in standards-based grading.
not in standards-based
Right.
grading. Because, and that brings up a good point, because homework assignments are not graded. And, you hear that information. We all grew up having assignments graded, so it's, that's kind of a blow. But it's practice. Just like I use the analogy of my kids taking piano lessons. They practice and they practice and they practice until the recital or whatever performance. Nobody graded any of their practices, but they may be judged on the performance that one time. Here, you get a chance to redo that performance with your reassessment if you do go back through the relearning plan in order to prove what you have learned.
Okay, so from my perspective, just kind of, I guess, a little bit of a background. We've been trying a lot of different things in the band world. I always had this idea that band should be an easy class to get an A in, but not an easy A class. So a lot of times, like, you have where the kids just show up and they get a participation grade for it, and I didn't like that. I tried motivating students other ways, practice reports. A couple years ago, I had a tuba player that kept on turning in about 600 minutes worth of practice every week and was still terrible. And I was given extra credit for that, and so the student had, like, you know, a 10,000% or something. I don't know, it was crazy, but wasn't learning anything, or at least it wasn't communicating where that student was. So we tried a lot of different things, and this year, and a little bit started dabbling into it a little bit last year too, but this year is the first year in 10 years of teaching that I've been excited about an assessment process that we have, and a curriculum process that we're doing in the class. So it's also turned the students around from being, well, Mr. Use didn't grade me the right way or whatever, and it turned it around to where we were both on the same team trying to achieve a goal in the class. They would have an assignment due every week that they had to record. Again, technology was a great thing. They can do it on their Chromebooks, on their cell phones at home, send it to me, and then I would tell them, yeah, it passed. With the 6th grade that I was working with, we would have a few different levels. You know, a minimum grade for them was a C. If they didn't pass it with a C, they got a 0 after it was due until they passed it. And it was really great because there was no, like, you know, coming after kids, you know, this is late and all that kind of stuff. It was just a goal for us to work together to accomplish. And so it really helped us be more on the same team in the classroom because both of our goals was to get better. As far as, like, the progress that we've made with that particular class this year, which they're a great group of kids, but in the past, and if you've had a student band, you know the little book that they work through, the Essential Elements book. There's 183 exercises in that book, and in the past, we've made it, by the end of their 6th grade year, to about 120 or so in there. At the beginning of this year, I also told the students, hey, if you pass the whole book, then we'll do a pizza party for you. And I expected a few students to get to that point. The whole class completed the whole book this year. So it could just been an awesome class. Again, they're a fun group of kids. But the process that we went through and the organization and the way that it motivated the students in a different way than I've ever seen before was really pretty spectacular. So it was cool.
And it reflected in their concert. They were really good. They were.
Pizza's a good motivator.
Not in the past,
Donuts
though.
work well too.
I've said that every year, and it doesn't. So.
I'll talk a little bit about maybe the educator side of standards-based grading. I did this, like Coach Johnson said, in my world history class, and obviously we all have standards that we all teach to. But in my personal experience, changing to the standards-based grading really had me really look closely and more in depth at the standards for social studies in this particular instance. And I really had to really ask myself, like, okay, and what I'm doing in the classroom and what I'm assessing on and how I'm assessing previously, is it truly aligning, or is it as aligned as it could be to the best of my abilities to our standards? And in some cases I had to say, like, okay, well, why are we doing this activity? You know, or why are we looking at this particular thing? Does it really align to our standards? Nope. Okay, get rid of it. How can I tweak it so that it aligns a little bit better? And I know when I got to those summative assessments, I just scrapped whatever I had previously thought and I redid them completely. My summatives were a lot shorter than what they had been in the past, but they were a little bit more difficult, and they really allowed the students, or made them have to look and see or dig from that knowledge and really show what it is that they have learned, instead of maybe just in the past maybe memorizing a couple key things that I can pull answers from. This was more authentic, definitely, with the standards base. And we had checkpoints along the way, and they had like the standards. I printed out rubrics for them at the beginning of each unit of like, these are the standards we're going to assess. If you want to do the very best you can, like this is what you have to do. All the way down to like a 0, which would be like they didn't even try to do anything, but they knew what to expect as we were going throughout the unit. They knew right away from the beginning what we were going to be covering, and they knew what they had to do in order to reach that excellence level at the end of our unit.
While she was talking, I guess I just reflected some more. And one of the things that I really liked about it too was that we keep holding the kids accountable to the end goal. And there's never, at least in my experience, we had it. Well, like for one example, I had a student this year and they didn't pass one of the playing tests. And so this student, had the same look, gave up, and walked away for a moment as they were saying, well, okay, so that's another bad grade for me. Chalk it up to regular experience and let's move on. But I was like, wait a second, you're not done yet. And it was really kind of cool to see that student turn around and be like, oh, so I still have a chance here to show that I can learn this. And it was more hope involved with the kids too.
Which is a really good point, and that's one of the things that we really learned is authentic learning happens for each of us at different points during the year. Just because we decide Friday's our chemistry test to take or the playing test, I may have not have learned it at that point, and so when I get assessed at it, I didn't do so well. But through a reassessment program where I can go back and relearn it, what happens if 2 weeks later it clicks for me that now I finally get it? Now I have a chance to reassess onto it, so maybe I can re-demonstrate that I actually have learned it. I learned it 2 weeks later than that, but how many times right now in our current education system is you take one test, that's your one chance at it. If you didn't do well onto it, oh well, you may not have got it, we have to move on. The thing that I think that does so well here, it holds everybody in the system accountable, teachers and the students too. We have to learn the standards. There is no chance of us just to say is, well, we just didn't get it, but we still have to move on. No, we still have this opportunity to keep going back and relearning and reassessing until we get it. And once we get it, hey, then we're going to be in a lot better place, which means authentic learning took place better. We know the material better. Hopefully then standardized test scores are better. It should wrap all the way in and bring the whole level up. What this allows us to do is to take a group of kids in a class of 20, clearly identify where they're at each standard. And where they're at, then we take them where they're at and we move them up. We don't just pull the bottom up to the middle and the top back to the middle. We take each and every single one of them clearly where they're at, identify them where they're at, give them the things to work on, and then move them up that way through a process that we're learning. That's kind of what we're trying to do.
How do you deal with when subjects are building on the next subject and then building on the next subject, and one student so he's taking the test for the third time and he finally passes it. Well, now he's 2-3 weeks behind the rest of the class.
Good question, because that was something that we said too. So we're going to keep going back over it with this kid, or
Right.
have a Colby Johnson who got it the first time and really needs to be pushed. And so what do we do with him? Do we have 3 different things going on at one time? So this Matt Townsley that we met with talked about, first of all, you can go through that relearning plan and then reassess, but also you can cycle back in some of that information. So from that particular standard. So if we do move on, then if there was this standard that student, that John Doe didn't understand, we put it on the next assessment as well for everybody and see, if they can pass it there. Do you know what I mean? Like the questions will be on that assessment and they go back to the previous assessment. So we're not taking all of that time to go back and reteach all of that, but we're not forgetting to, we're not just dropping it either. Like you didn't learn it, so now we're moving on. We're gonna cycle it back in. Spiral, that's what he called it. He called it spiraling. So they're continually building on that.
And that's a really good question. And a part of our Standards-based, we have a section called frequently asked questions because these were a lot of the same questions that we had. With it, that we were able to kind of ask the questions and eventually answer for all of the teachers as we go through. But kind of going back to your question, there is a lot of the relearning plan. That's where the motivation and the hard work comes from, because it doesn't take place during the classroom. That comes in through our seminars and through some of our PLT time, and through that where you break those down into the intervention groups. Because what's great about that, if I can clearly identify 20 different kids where they're at in the different learning, there's probably a group of 4 or 5 that are on that same level. Well, I can bring them in into an individual time where I can do more one-on-one instruction with them, where I'm not wasting the time of these kids over here. I mean, typically whenever you assess, you're going to have 3 different groups. You're going to have a below target group, an on target group, or an enriched group. And how awesome would it be to work with the 3 different levels at their level and push the enrichment group? Because sometimes we don't do that very well. Sometimes we have the enrichment group that, they blow through the standard. They know it really quickly, but you could bring them back in and you could push them even farther on the standard, having them compare and contrast to something else outside of the box and having some time with it.
The other thing that kind of helped my personal ego, I guess, through this was Dr. Townsley kept bringing up the fact, or the comment, that we have that problem now anyways. Like in the band world or whatever, if kids aren't learning, up to this note, then they can't move on to the next part of the music. And that struggle happens if I use a standards base or if I don't. The beauty of what the standards base is allowing us to do, like what Jerry was saying, was it gives them that process, that organization, and hopefully the drive or the want to learn what that standard is. And so there's a process for them to go through, instead of just saying, bummer, that's a bad grade on that test, try harder next time. We're giving them that hope. So you're right, it is a problem that we end up having, and it's a lot to juggle sometimes when we have different kids that are testing or assessing at different levels. But at least we're still working with them and holding their hand through that, instead of just dropping it at the back or at the beginning where we were before.
So when you tie it in with like PLT time, so you have these students, and if they're struggling, then you can pull them back and spiral back and all that. And
Yeah, and that was one thing that we had talked about with the new schedule for next year. I don't know what's going on with that schedule, but we had talked about having 90-minute class periods, and so for 60 minutes we're the direct instruction, all typical class time. But then that last 30 minutes, if you have done well and you've turned in assignments and you seem to have a good understanding of the material, you go on for your PLT time. But we get to work 1-on-1 or 5-on-5 or hold those kids back that are having difficulty understanding stuff. So to us, that was ideal to have that schedule set up that way, just so we could work with kids, because sometimes they're not very responsible to come back to our classrooms to work with us. They would rather do other things. So that was ideal to have them in the classroom, keep them there, and then spiral back or do whatever we need to.
Because a lot of times that you see, like in a class of 20, some people may not raise their hand to ask a question, and they really have a question about they don't understand, but they're zoned out and they're just going. When you can work with a smaller group, 3 or 4, I mean, the elementary world does this perfectly. When I used to go down and watch my wife's classroom, it was chaotic, but it worked. I mean, it was just like there's a lot of moving parts. You guys have like little stations where all these tables are set up, and sometimes I feel like at football practice you blow a whistle and they're rotating stations and all this kind of stuff, but they're doing that, and they're doing like reading, and they're doing fluency over here. But each individual kid was clearly communicated to what their deficiency was. Like, we're struggling with this, right? So you're struggling with your vowel sounds. So come over here and we're going to work with the vowel sounds here, all this group. We don't do that at high school. We get to like the high school, and you get into that model of, well, if you didn't get it, well, better luck, you better figure it out. I mean, if we have a chance to go back and re-help and relearn and reassess some of these kids, it may only take a little bit more to get them up to snuff and to be able for it to kick in for them.
And I think you save time in the end process of that too. Like if you have a kid that's struggling in the lowest level, but you're able to get them past that by that relearning process and everything, then they're going to pick up the higher levels of whatever subject it is faster without having the biggest struggle. So it's a lot of time initially, and especially through the training process of getting the kids to learn how this all works. But it starts to drive itself. The machine starts to work itself.
Good job. And I do want to say these guys are rock stars. They would come in once a month and they would be frustrated and they would be giving me dirty looks. And it was like I'd have to sit there for like this for the most meeting and just saying, listen, if it doesn't work out, we don't have to do this. Hey, quit giving me the eye daggers type thing. But they fought through. And it is tough. It's tough to wrap your brain around it. And especially where we were to start with, it was frustrating because we're like, there's a really good thing here, but we have zero idea how to do it. And it took Mr. Johnson finding this guy out there in northern Iowa that clicked in, and he is so good about just removing himself and saying, I know we were there, but think about it this way. And we kept coming up with, well, yeah, but what happens if this happens? He goes, is it happening now? It is. Okay, so this isn't going to fix everything, but guess what? It will help in this area. It doesn't solve all the world's problems, and that's not what we're trying to say what it is. But if it can help a little bit by doing it a better way, it's worth it. And so when we kind of were able to recollect and say, we don't have to change everything we're doing, but we can just look to streamline it a little bit better in order to really communicate the learning level that students are at, in order to take them up a little bit higher. And it started working out really good, and it started clicking for us. So these guys worked their tails off for 2 years, came in every single time, was asking the questions. And what was great about this group is they didn't hold back on their questions. They were asking the tough questions. This isn't going to work. I don't understand how this is. How can this be? How can that? And then we'd have an answer for it, which was great, because if you can't have a justification for anything you're doing, you probably shouldn't be doing it. And we were able to keep coming forward with that and keep saying, yeah, let's walk through the door because it's open. So we appreciate your time tonight. If you have any more questions, these guys really would answer them.
I just want to thank you for doing it. I mean, because if you think about that kid that struggled through school and quit, well, maybe you can keep that kid stimulated and keep him in there and get him through. That's the job, right? Get him the information and get them to the next step in their life. So thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much for all the really hard work and reflection going into this. And I know it's not easy, but there is like Jerry said, there's a reason for it, justification for it. Really appreciate the process of growth going through this, and excited to see where it goes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like.
It gets better. All right.
Lance?
Oh, we're going to move to the playground project bids.
You tried to be late.
Yeah, I tried.
All right, so we put the bid process out for the playground project and let out the bids, and we received a bid back on Friday from, I think you have the information before you, from TaylorMade Company. This is to do the Wiley Major, the big playground over there. If you recall, this is partially fueled, a third of it, through the grant that Dean had written to the KDHE. So when you see the $124,970 price tag, well, $40,000 of that is paid by somebody else for us. So Lance is our point person with this, with Tom and arrears to help him. If everything goes the way the recommendation is for you to accept the bid and we move down the path, they'll start July 5th or 6th with the excavation, and then from there, get the materials and bring it in. They've already used we'll see about the supplies, be able to get them, but we're buying it specifically from the KDHE, their materials, the recycled tires is what they are. And I would expect, hope against hope, we'd be finished with this before the school year starts. So what you have is a bid from TaylorMade Company. It's our loan bid, but it's a good bid. For $124,970.48, and I would recommend that you accept that bid so we can move on it starting tomorrow. But Lance is here to answer any questions.
So this is the only bid we have?
Yep. But it is truly right in line with what we expected.
Do we have to put up any more fence and security around than what we already have?
No.
It just says there, supply fence and security.
They'll take out a part of the fence and they'll put it back up
Just during the work.
to excavate it.
I make a motion, we accept the bid.
Okay, Sean? Second. Curtis? Moved and seconded that we accept the bid from TaylorMade to do the playground at Wiley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
If you'd sign that, please.
okay. And thanks, Lance. Sorry we were so hard on you. Okay, we'll move to disposal list.
This is just that regular twice-a-year action we bring forward to you, items and district property that we just don't have a use for anymore. For some odd reason, it seems to populate itself over and over again. So you've got a sheet detailed by building. Our recommendation is to the board give us ability or the permission to dispose of these materials. What happens is we put the word out to all of the USD 363 employees and say, hey, we got these things. If you need them, if you want to use them in your classroom or use them in your profession, because transportation might need them or Tom might need it, whatever, come get them. And if then they still aren't claimed, then we offer them over to student organizations for fundraising, like basketball jerseys, that kind of thing. People will buy that kind of thing. Then if they still go unclaimed, they go the way of the dodo. But Kansas law says we can't get rid of anything without board approval. So I would recommend the board approving of disposing of the attached items.
So moved.
Jill? Curtis? Moved and seconded to dispose of old stuff.
There you go.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, let's
As
move.
long as we can put some of these pictures in Dr. Meyer's office. They seem really nice.
Yeah.
I claim the frog a couple years back. It's in my office.
All right, we'll move to new business and donations.
Yeah, we have three donations coming to us from Strawbridge Bridge. That is our photography group. One for HMS, one for HES, one for WES. We just can't accept them without board approval. So I would recommend you accept the gifts to the district as presented.
So moved.
Seconded.
And Jill? Moved and seconded to approve the donations from Strawbridge. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, next we will close out the FY21 financials.
Yes, sir. We're seeking permission or authority to allow me to close out the district's financial books at the end of the 21 fiscal operations. And it's kind of a moving target, like Mike and I are talking about it today. Heck, we don't get the final disbursement from the state until next, July. But anyway, we need approval to then take all the actions to close it all out. We will return all of the starting balances back to where they began at the beginning of the year. We want to do that as long as we possibly can. And then whatever remains, we'll put into capital outlay, contingency reserve, or professional learning, one of those areas. So I'm just seeking permission to do that. The details of what we do, I'll bring back to you later on.
Okay. Curtis?
Second it.
And Jill? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to allow Dr. Myers the authority to close out the district's financials for the 2021 school year. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, cooperative agreement with GCCC.
You have in your packet 2 agreements, but in the 11th hour, at the end of the day today, we received another one from them, but it's just a standard one that we do every year. So there's going to be 3 agreements I'll be asking for you to approve. And you can do them all at once if you'd like. Just have to name them. We have the carpentry agreement, the cosmetology agreement, and then the general annual cooperative agreement to where we can offer concurrent classes. It's an annual thing that occurs. I don't know why we got it just today, but we got it, so we might as well take care of it. So I recommend approval of the 3 cooperative agreements as presented. If you'll recall, on the carpentry and the cosmetology, this launched a new venue for our kids to go over there and take some classes. This is, in my opinion, the carpentry agreement is a precursor to ultimately opening up our own Woods program down the road as we start building more and more kids into it. I think we had 2 go over there this year, Jason, and 5 in cosmetology. And so we'll have those two programs plus two others, the auto mechanics and the operations, the industry yeah, that stuff.
Industrial maintenance.
Right. And so we don't need a cooperative agreement for those, but the good thing about this is we're even deepening our relationship with GCCC. So all the Cs out there. So I would recommend you get approval for all three agreements.
So all three is still the 10,000,
The only 10,000 is just for the carpentry,
just for the.
just for the carpentry. Yeah, and that's because they didn't hire to bring somebody on. They just didn't have anybody. And Garden City's paying 20,000, so it's good by me. We'll pay less.
I will make that motion.
I second that.
Ryan and Curtis. You'll get the next one, Sean. Been moved and seconded to all the cooperative agreements as presented through GCCC. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. HRC board appointment.
It's the Board of Education's responsibility to appoint a person to the Holcomb Recreation Commission. We advertised in the Telegram, and to my knowledge, as of this moment, Robin, we had one person submit. Okay, so I recommend the appointment of Josh Goddard to remain on the Holcomb Rec Commission for the next 4-year term.
So moved.
Ryan,
Second it.
Jill. Moved and seconded to appoint Josh Goddard to the 4-year term on the Holcomb Rec Board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, 2021-22 food service agreement.
The world of food service has just been a moving target this year. They've done things I never thought would happen, but some sense of normalcy. Although the USDEA has already announced meals will continue to be gratis to all students for this coming year, it's still necessary to confirm that the renewal of our food service agreement. We don't have a new agreement for you. It harkens back to the 2019 year. So the motion just needs to be, is requested to approve continued participation in the federal school lunch program for the 21-22 school year. That allows us to say, yes, we're playing, so they'll continue, and in this particular year, they'll continue to pay for all the meals for all our kids. I'd recommend you make that, that we participate in the federal school lunch program.
So moved.
Jill? Second. Curtis? It's moved and seconded that we approve the continued participation in the federal school lunch program for the 2021-2022 school year. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So they're just gonna get that money from China?
Oh, yes. I have some stories on that.
Okay, we're gonna move to
That Linda does a great job.
handbooks.
You have 6 handbooks for your consideration. I will tell you the vast majority of the adjustments are editorial and just changing the dates, changing our name here or there. We did put into the Chromebook policies that went into play about a month ago are now embedded into this as well. The only 2 things that are really, 3 things are really major. Kind of normal anyway, but in Wiley, it has the class supplies list is listed. That's different from the others. In the middle school handbook, adjusted the wording on the dress code. As I explained to you, it's not a good idea when I was a classroom teacher to have a list of 35 things that kids can't do. Because the minute you have, then they'll find the one thing that's not on the list. Well, same thing with the dress code. And so rather than have it super duper didactically prescribed, it's better just to say, we're going to take care of it. And so it rests on the shoulders of the professionals, but I have complete faith on that. Then the last item.
More work?
I'm sorry?
Is that gonna give them more work?
Yeah, I'm sure it'll have to be a team effort, right, Mr. Helton? Totally fine. Okay. Then high school handbook, the only real fundamental shift in that is making Adult 101 a graduation requirement, which I 100% recommend and support. So
That would just start with the class of 25.
right, yeah. So the
Incoming freshmen.
incoming freshmen would have to pass it all. Now we'll still involve next year sophomores, juniors, and seniors in activities, but it won't be a graduation requirement for them. That's how you do that. Anyway, you grow it up with the incoming freshmen. So, and that's detailed in the handbook. So I would recommend approval of all these handbooks.
So I got a question on the amount of credits required to graduate. a couple of years ago, we made some changes so that we could have early graduates that semester. Is this additional requirement? Would we still be able to have graduates?
So currently, right now, you have 16 core credits that you have to have and 8 electives. So now it'll be 17 required classes and 7 electives. It doesn't change the number.
Doesn't change the total, it just.
Correct. 24 is still the total, but instead of having 8 electives of their free choice, they get 7 now, with that one adulting taking a place of one of those electives.
And not meaning to mix the peas and carrots and not to sell after it's sold, but if the competency base ever really takes hold, that too will bring about early graduation requests, if it really takes place.
Thanks, Jason. So moved.
Okay, Curtis?
I'd
Second.
I move to recommend the motion. I move to approve the handbooks as presented.
Okay,
Sorry.
and
Second.
Jill?
Yeah.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the handbooks as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Kansas Homeland Security Hazard Mitigation Plan Resolution. Geez, that was,
Several years back, there was a push nationwide, and the state of Kansas got involved as well. And then Southwest Kansas, probably by design at the state level, they divided them out, Southwest Kansas, Northeast Kansas, Central Kansas, all these different areas. And so this district got involved with Finney County, Ford County, there's like 8 different counties out here who are this particular mitigation plan. And at that time, the board chose to join in the activity. And so I received notification last week that, hey, it's time to redo this resolution. Basically, the resolution, lots of words on the page, but the resolution says we will follow the mitigation plan. I went through the mitigation plan as it addressed for USD 363, and basically it said FEMA room, and we'll do all the different drills that we're supposed to do. We're in good stead. There was a section in this whole plan where individual districts had to make up some things. We were not on that list, so that's a good thing. So I would recommend that the resolution be adopted, and we'll let them know tomorrow morning that we're maintaining participation in this, and it sets us up for FEMA grants and whatnot, and it helps the county, or helps the area.
Matt, I move we pass the resolution to adopt the mitigation plan.
okay, Ryan?
Second it.
Jill? Moved and seconded to adopt the mitigation plan as our official plan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Personnel,
Sign that one, please.
so now what do we need for negotiations and,
20 minutes,
okay, 20 to include you,
just me.
okay? All right, let's see, what time is it? How about we go into executive session for 20 minutes at 8:15 to include Dr. Myers?
So moved.
Jill?
Second.
Curtis? Moved and seconded to go into executive session for 20 minutes, starting at 8:15. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right.
Dina.
I don't know. It has, goodness.
Gotta redraw these lines a little bit.
I think so too. How do we do that?
Okay, we are back in session. I need a motion to hire Olivia Ortega as a long-term sub.
So moved.
Sean and Curtis. Moved and seconded to hire Olivia Ortega. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to hire Nicole Martin as a student advocate.
So moved.
Jill.
Second.
Ryan S. Moved and seconded to hire Nicole Martin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to hire Cale Coster for summer maintenance.
So moved.
Sean.
Second.
Ryan S. Moved and seconded to hire Cale Coster. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to hire Amethyst Larson as a middle school ESL para.
So moved.
Ryan S.
Second it.
And what? Oh, and summer paint crew. Okay. Did I miss that? Okay. Was Curtis. We'll give this one to Curtis since he's not been very helpful tonight. Moved and seconded to hire my birthstone Larson. Amethyst. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. I need a motion to hire Rebecca Greenwood as a Holcomb Elementary School para pending a background check.
So moved.
Jill. Sean. Moved and seconded to hire Rebecca Greenwood. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to hire Mandy Palacios as a Wiley Elementary School para pending a background check.
So moved.
Second.
Jill and Curtis. Moved and seconded to hire Mandy Palacios. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to hire Tori Gonzalez as a Wiley Elementary School para pending a background check.
So moved.
Ryan.
Second.
Sean. Moved and seconded to hire Tori Gonzalez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to approve the supplementals as presented.
So move.
Curtis.
Second it.
Jill. Moved and seconded to to approve the supplementals. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now let's get in the weeds. All right. I need a motion to approve regular movement plus $1 for all classified staff, with the exception of Mike and Randy.
So moved.
Second.
Sean and Curtis. Moved and seconded to give movement plus $1 to all classified staff. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to give movement to Mike and Randy? They get, I thought. Okay, so for Mike and Randy, give movement plus the 3.04% raise.
So moved.
Second.
Jill and Curtis. Moved and seconded to give Mike and Randy movement plus a 3.04% raise. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, I need a motion to give all the janitors a 50-cent raise. In addition, I need a motion to give the janitors an additional 50% raise.
50 cents.
50 cent, not 50%.
Did I say percent? I thought I said
Yeah.
cent. 50 cent. Okay. 50-cent raise.
So moved.
Jill and Sean.
Just like the band.
Moved and seconded to give the janitors an additional 50 cents raise. All those,
Can I clarify that this is 50 cents an hour?
Yes.
Jeez, maybe you should be the president.
Yes, per hour.
50 cents and 50 cents an hour is quite a bit different.
Well, 50 cents is 50 cents. Okay. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. I need a motion to give Carrie Van Pelt an additional 50 cents per hour raise.
There you go.
So moved.
Second.
Sean and Curtis. It's been moved and seconded to give Carrie Van Pelt an additional 50 cent per hour raise. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to give Stacy Cundiff an additional 50 cent per hour raise.
So move.
Curtis
Second.
and Ryan. Moved and seconded to give Stacy Cundiff an additional 50 cent per hour raise. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, I need a motion to give Tyler Helton a 5% raise.
So move.
It's Curtis
Second.
and Jill. Moved and seconded to give Tyler a 55% raise. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
He didn't mean 55. It was 5.
Just 5. Lee.
I need a little bit of help here.
Tongue-tied.
A 5% raise for Tyler Helton, Curtis Peterson, who was the second?
Silly
Brian
Jilly.
Ness.
It was Jill.
It was Jill?
It was Jill.
Okay.
Okay, now I need a motion to give Randy Tyne a 5% raise.
So move.
Jill and Curtis. Moved and seconded to give Randy Tyne a 5% raise. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. In addition, I need a motion to give Amy a $800 per semester raise.
So moved.
Ryan,
Second.
Sean, moved and
Hey,
seconded.
could you amend that to
Yeah.
per semester for college reimbursement?
College reimbursement. Did you get that?
Yes,
Robin?
Yes, sir, I haven't.
Sorry, you have to keep going back and,
It's okay.
okay. So it's been moved and seconded to give Amy a $800 per semester to go towards
College reimbursement.
college reimbursement. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, in addition, I need a motion to give Randy Tyne $50 a month to go towards her 403B. So moved.
Second.
Sean and Curtis. Moved and seconded to give Randy $50 a month to go towards her 403B. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I also need a motion to give Randy Tyne a stipend for overseeing Wiley Elementary School of just $3,000.
So move.
Curtis and Jill. Moved and seconded to give Randy Tyne a $3,000 stipend for overseeing Wiley Elementary for the first semester. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I need another motion to give Tyler Helton $800 per semester for college reimbursement. So moved. Sean?
Second.
Ryan Shrivogel. Moved and seconded to give Tyler $800 a semester for college reimbursement. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I need a motion to give Jerry Johnson $200 a month towards his medical insurance.
So move.
Curtis
Second.
and Sean. Moved and seconded to give Jerry $200 a month for health insurance. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then I need a motion to ratify the 2021-2022 negotiated agreement.
So move.
Second.
Curtis and Jill. Moved and seconded to ratify the 2021-2022 negotiated agreement. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Did I forget anything? Okay, well, and that's it.
You forgot the one about adjourning.
Oh, well, that one, yeah. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Jill and Curtis. Moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. telling you, there was just a lot of stuff there, Dr. Myers. You know, I needed more of an outline form for me. She gone.
50-cent raise wouldn't have gone very far.
Well, in my mind, I knew it was 50 cents an hour, you know. I know.